Hello, and welcome to the Office of the Patriot, where I try to make sense out of the nonsense of the progressive left and Rhino right. I'm your host, Myron Ybarra, and damn, it's good to be back. It's been about 2 weeks since the last episode, and, well, the shit has been hitting the fan in waves. There's almost too much to cover. So, I'm going to just touch on a couple of the issues to see if there's maybe some connective tissue between, well, each of the incidents. A conspiracy theory. Here's the problem. When government fails to do its damn job, and in this case, job means not being forthcoming with information, people are going to start taking the bits of data they collect and make them fit. We call this conspiracy theories. So, what is a conspiracy theory? Well, according to Merriam-Webster, a conspiracy theory is a theory that explains an event or a set of circumstances as the result of a secret plot, usually by powerful conspirators. And there's been a lot of these unexplained or marginally explained incidents lately. But in all fairness, I'm not going to categorize my beliefs as a conspiracy theory. No, I kind of think they're more like forecasts. Conspiracy theories have a negative connotation, despite the fact that, as of late, the majority of them wind up having more than just a modicum of truth to them. So my forecast is going to be based off of unexplained or underexplained facts and circumstances. And we'll start with the most prevalent one, the drone sightings that started to occur right around late November through late December. When these sightings began back in November of this year, they were primarily in the area of New Jersey and New York. The first sighting, I believe, was near an Army facility in New Jersey. It was the Picatinny Arsenal. That's a military research and manufacturing facility. Many of these sightings were not the typical hobbyist drones that you can pick up from Best Buy or Amazon. They were large-scale unmanned aerial vehicles used by our military that are typically used for surveillance and sometimes for offensive purposes. As of late, there have been over 5,000 drone sightings in over 13 states, and many of these sightings were reported being over or around military and civilian infrastructure. So when the sightings started, questions were put to our government, and of course they backpedaled and they hem-hawed and basically denied anything was going on. And our liar-in-chief, Bumbling Joe, was no exception. He was cornered by reporters as he was leaving the White House. When he was asked about the drones flying above New Jersey, he claimed, well, I'll just let him tell you.
Will you hold a press conference before the end of the year?
What's the explanation for all those drones over New Jersey? What's behind all of that?
Nothing nefarious, apparently, but they're checking it all out. I think it's just one. There's a lot of drones authorized to be up there. I think one started and they all got it. Everybody's wanting to get in the deal. But we're following it closely. So far, no sense of a danger.
Sorry, but if you couldn't understand a word that the liar-in-chief said, he said there's nothing nefarious going on. And, well, I call bullshit. But his whole administration is basically saying the exact same thing, almost verbatim. Take a listen to John Kirby, who expands on the premise that, well, there's nothing to see here.
And joining us now, retired Admiral John Kirby, the White House National Security Communications Advisor. Admiral Kirby, good morning. Well, we just saw this accusation that the administration is not being forthright about what it knows, that it knows more than it's letting on. And I know you're here to clear it up. So what do you know about these sightings? And perhaps more importantly at this point, how do you know it?
We've been sharing everything that we are learning with the public in various settings and venues, Savannah, and we have done some analysis over the last several days. That analysis, right now, our assessment leads us to conclude that these are lawful and legal aviation activities, manned and unmanned, drones and civil aviation aircraft or commercial aircraft. Now, look, we've got 5,000 tips that we've gone through. The FBI is still working on about 100 leads from those 5,000 tips and sightings that we still have to triangulate. We still have to finish looking at, and we'll do that. And as we do that, if we learn more, if we learn something different, well, my goodness, we'll come out and talk about it. We are being as open and as transparent with the American people as we can be. What we won't do is speculate or hypothesize about what something we don't know. Now, we know that there's no national security threat. We know there's no public safety threat.
John, a DOD official at a briefing on Saturday said, echoing you, we have no intelligence or observations that would indicate that these drones were aligned with a foreign actor or that they had malicious intent. And then he goes on to say, but I just got to simply tell you, we don't know. We've not been able to locate or identify the operators or the points of origin. So if you don't know the operators or the points of origin, how do you know it's not a malicious actor or a foreign entity?
Part of that comes in the analysis and the detection of the track, the behavior of the aircraft, where they're going, what they're doing, how long they're there. I mean, you can tell a lot about intent just by how an aircraft operates or how it is operated. But again, we've still got 100 leads we're working on. We're still working through this. And as we learn more information, we absolutely will come forward and let people know. But it is important for them to know now two things. There is a lot of drones in the sky. There's a lot of aircraft in the sky over U.S. airspace. And there is no indication that any of it, particularly on the northeast seaboard, poses a national security threat or a public safety threat. As a matter of fact, these drones are in large part doing public good. They are either helping commercial deliveries or they're law enforcement drones. Some are hobbyists, but there's no harm to public safety from this.
One other thing, some local officials have said that the drones seem to fly in a coordinated pattern only at night and for an extended period of time. Is that your assessment too? And how do you explain that?
I suspect that some of them are flying in coordinated ways. That's what you'd want. You'd want unmanned aircraft in airspace flying legally to fly coordinated flight paths and in an organized fashion. That doesn't mean that there's a nefarious intent. I mean, it can sound that way, but that doesn't mean maliciousness or criminal activity of any kind. It could mean, in fact, what we think it means, which is that they are flying legally and lawfully for legitimate purposes.
And finally, I mean, the president-elect essentially said the White House, the administration is keeping us in suspense and we don't know. Bottom line, is the administration holding anything back in terms of what it knows, even if for a good reason? Is the administration holding it back?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Quite the contrary. No, ma'am.
Admiral Kirby, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.
All of them are pretty much in lockstep, trying to brush off the questions without actually even answering them. Next, we have a mysterious fog that is forming all along the eastern and southern United States, going all the way down to Florida. Most of the people that are reporting on this fog phenomenon are claiming that it isn't a typical fog, but more like a mist. In some cases, it's being reported that this fog or mist or whatever the hell you want to call it is causing respiratory issues and has a smell of like smoke or chemicals. Take a look for yourselves.
All right, so it's crazy foggy right now. But that's not the weird part, okay? Like, number one, it's weird because as it gets later in the day, fog should lighten, dissipate, and it's really not. But the weirdest part is the taste and smell. It smells like after you set off a bunch of fireworks, and like the taste of the air is, I mean, the only word I can think of is toxic. It's super weird. And so I'm going for my walk and it's kind of worrying me a little bit. Let me know if you guys are experiencing something like that. That's weird. Yeah, I mean, it smells not right. And I'm 41. I've been through fog. This is something different. Let me know if you guys are experiencing something like that.
Now, normally, I'm not one to base my hypothesis on pure speculation. I try to use correlating evidence to support every one of my ideas. However, in this case, I'm going to go off the deep end, well, just a little bit, primarily because the premise of this presentation is, well, conspiracy theories. Oh, sorry, political forecasts. So here's mine. These drones that we are seeing are being used by hostile countries, likely working in concert with the deep state and the Biden bureaucracy. I don't know what the exact purpose of the drones are. However, it would not surprise me if they were serving multiple purposes. First, many of them have been seen around military installations and infrastructure, well, like I noted earlier. Our government already knows the strengths and weaknesses of our infrastructure and military installations, but they can't be openly providing information to other countries, especially if they're hostile. So they turn a blind eye to all these drones collecting the information. Couple that with the masses of unknown illegal immigrants from countries that are hostile to the United States, and you have a first wave fighting force with detailed logistical information already installed at our doorstep. For a directed attack, these drones could be used to injure or disable Americans and America infrastructure via chemical warfare and or pulse weaponry. We might be suffering some of the test attacks via this fog mist that people are seeing right now. Now, some of you may be thinking that this is purely hyperbole. Why would our government engage in chemical warfare against its own people or even allow it to happen? Well, many of you may not know this, but it's happened before under a program called Operation Sea Spray. In the 1950s, the United States government, specifically the Department of Defense, used a Navy ship they installed off the coast of San Francisco. And the ship sprayed bacteria into the air, aiming it towards San Francisco. And they did this to determine the susceptibility of a large city's attack to a bioweapon. I mean, what egg-headed moron thought it was a good idea to test a city's underbelly by hitting the population with an allegedly benign bioweapon? Our government used a bacteria they thought was not harmful to humans. However, come to find out that a number of residents in San Francisco developed urinary tract infections as a result of this bacteria. And there's quite a bit more to this incident, and I highly encourage you to check it out. I have all the information and more regarding this operation, as well as the receipts for today's presentation in the description section below. Here's the problem. Part of the reason people start piecing together parts of a puzzle, like all the things that are happening today, is to try to make sense of their surroundings. It's, human nature. And in this case, we're left with no other choice but to do that. Our government has been, less than forthcoming with information regarding these circumstances. I mean, they're assuring us that there's no problem, that we have nothing to worry about, and there's nothing nefarious going on. But they're not telling us anything beyond that. And that's what parents do to ease the worry of their children and to silence their questions. My question is, how do you know there's nothing nefarious going on when you can't tell us who's piloting these drones, where they're coming from, or what information they're collecting? And what about this strange fog that hundreds of people have posted videos about? There's not one mention in any legacy media outlet or statement by anyone in the federal government. But the big question beyond all of this is why? Why is it happening now? Well, again, I believe that the deep state, in concert with other countries around the world, do not want Donald Trump as president of the United States. And they're willing to do just about anything to ensure that doesn't happen. I'm sure many of you who are active on social media have been seeing X tweets regarding the likelihood that Donald Trump isn't even going to make it to the inauguration on January 20th. Take a look at what's happened in the last 48 hours. We have 2 terrorist attacks on opposite ends of the United States, and there is connective tissue between each one. The deep state is so hell-bent on ensuring that Americans are controlled and, not the other way around, that I believe they're willing to do whatever it takes to stop Donald Trump from taking office. And if that means harming the citizens they have sworn to protect, that's what I believe they'll do. And I have a sinking feeling that things are going to get, worse before they get better. We just have to pray that we and Trump make it to January 21st unscathed. And this concludes today's episode of Office of the Patriot. If you enjoyed the presentation, please take the time to like, subscribe, and share this channel on your social media. It's appreciated. Also, please take the time to comment. Viewer engagement via comments is the major metric for channel accessibility on most social media platforms like YouTube and Facebook and Rumble and X and MeWe and all of them. The more people that like, subscribe, and comment, the more this channel will come up when social and political content like this is searched for. And as always, have a blessed day, a very happy new year, and stay safe out there.